Oh, hey, Ben.
Hello there.
Welcome, everyone, to our Data God Lunch and Learn. Kratos BI, excited to have you all here. We are delighted that we get the one and only Ben Ferry, Power BI guy, live and in person, dropping some major
Woohoo.
knowledge bombs here. So I can't wait to get into this. So,
Oh
um,
wow, that's hard act to follow, mate. That's so much. That's so much stuff. Look, I'm premier. I've got a T-shirt. I've got the Power BI T-shirt that my wife bought for me for Christmas, and she kept asked me, "Why don't you wear it?" And I was like, "Because it's cold. It's winter." So I've got this jacket thing on top of it. So there you go.
oh, good
Merchandise for
deal.
the first time.
Oh, is that on your channel? Or you're
No,
just
no, no,
wearing
no.
merch
Sorry,
for the first time?
not at all. No, no. That's just
Okay,
my
all right,
wife
all
bought
right.
for me. That's all.
All right. Well, that's a small plug. Do check out my brand new merch line of black on black Power BI data guide merchandise now available on YouTube right below. You can buy that right now. So thanks for that plug there. So
Always, mate. Always. And you got some fantastic stickers that I love as well, remember?
oh yeah, yes, yeah. And if you want to support the channel, head over to chrisbi.com, buy me a coffee. I'll send you some stickers. So thanks
Woohoo.
so much.
Do it.
Woo.
Do it.
All right. So if you're in the chat, let us know where you're from. It's amazing. Uh, I just found out, Ben, why don't you tell everybody where you're from?
I can do that. That's no problem. I'm sitting right now in Berlin, in Germany. In Berlin we have the day off because it's an International Women's Day, and we are the only state I think in Germany that gets that day is free. So I'm enjoying my day off. But originally I'm from England, from Newcastle, and I've been here a good few years now. My German is a bit dodgy, but I can get by on it. And yeah, this is me moving across, and I have my wife who's Italian, so we have a good mix of languages in the household. And I do all my Power BI nerdy things from this office where I sit in Berlin. And yeah, it's good fun. I enjoy it a lot. And then I get to be on fantastic shows like yours. It means a lot to me, All this. What an amazing invite! The one and only Kratos BI. Absolutely love.
Well,
Thank you.
I was so excited. I've been watching your videos for a long time, and a big shout out to Kevin Arnold. Thank you for posting the link to Ben's YouTube
Oh, cheers,
channel
mate. Thank you.
out there. It is phenomenal. You have kind of like found your way into doing a lot of stuff with Deneb. Can you just kind of like how did that come about?
That was completely accidental. And sometimes I'm like, should I keep doing that? But I can't help myself. I'm so addicted to it. So my YouTube channel started, I think, basically at the start of lockdown. I think many of them did, which was a bit of a coincidence. I posted a couple of videos 6 months earlier, and I didn't have the time and what have you. And I did like bits and pieces about stuff. My idea was always basically, I'll make a video about what interests me at the time, right?
Sure.
Whatever I'm working on, if I've learned something, I think maybe I can share that. I'll do a video. That's what I started to do. And then it became really Deneb focused, probably about, I don't know, a year ago, because I discovered Deneb or Deneb, however you choose to pronounce it. That's up to you. I don't mind. And neither does Daniel Marsh Patrick, so it doesn't really matter at all.
Wait, how are you
Um,
supposed to pronounce it?
no one knows. Daniel doesn't
Oh,
mind, so
okay.
we can
All
just
right.
pick and choose. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The,
All
the
right.
only the only thing that matters is the correct word is PBIX, not PBIX. That's the only thing that matters.
Oh,
um,
that's
yeah. I'm just getting controversial straight away, mate.
this
Um,
starting to
but
like itch now.
I'd never really used that many custom visuals. I'll go through it in a little bit. What I'd been using, a tiny amount. And then I found Deneb probably through Kerry Kolosko, and her amazing work. And I just started to use it. I'd used Charticulator, but I couldn't really get on board with it. I couldn't pick it up. Just people's brains function in different ways, right?
Hmm.
And I started with Deneb and I just immediately loved it. And because I was constantly learning, and because something about it for me just clicked, in the structure of it and the way you can change elements, and just some of the very helpful, sometimes completely ludicrous things that you can do with it. I just think it's a really nice thing to engage with. But I was thinking about 2 months ago, I was thinking about to stop doing any Deneb videos because I saw that in the community, it's really started to pick up. Like people are starting to use it, and people are starting to learn. I was like, that's great, that's cool. I can just stop it there, and people are learning. Obviously, I'm not saying it has anything to do with me. It started to grow. But I couldn't stop. It's like, no, I'm continually learning, like even stuff like how to use the legend and how to use SVG paths and stuff. It was just yeah. So I'm even every now and then I'll do something because I learn something new about something else. But because Deneb is basically constant learning, and it allows you so much freedom. It's my base. My channel should basically be called Deneb Guy at this point. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, frankly, I'm very excited about this because I've watched a number of your videos. I'm like, okay, hey, Deneb is something I can do. In fact, I've done a couple of visuals in Deneb,
Cool.
but I'm not sure I have enough of a feel for it to like do a video on it. And
Okay.
like one of my like top 5 videos every week, every month has been a video I released like 3 years ago about how do you create a custom visual in 10 minutes. And
Cool.
I want to replace that with an updated Deneb visual.
Yeah,
So
fair
I'm
enough.
excited to see what you got. So I won't have as good a video on Deneb as you will, but I can't wait to like at least give it a swing. Right.
Yeah, I mean it's I mean for anyone who's never used Deneb, I really what I always really want to talk about with Deneb is, I mean, for me, I have no coding background, like none. I mean, that's not true. I did a bit of HTML back when I was 15. I talked about this one of my live streams a couple of weeks ago. This crazy story about why I stopped doing HTML. And then I didn't do any coding for years. So I just find it really accessible. I mean, basically, I also work a lot with APIs. And APIs and JSON kind of have something going on there. So I'm used to seeing that format. And I like to just promote the fact that if you can build one mark in Deneb, I'll get to this later, of course. If you can build one mark in Deneb, from that, you can just copy and paste, and you really will end up with something that you take a step back and it's like, oh my God, that's so complex. Did I really do that? It's like, yeah, you did. You just copied and pasted. You changed one or two things, and now it looks cool, or now it looks maybe ridiculous. I'm a big fan of the ridiculous, to be honest, because I think that's how you learn. You take things in really crazy directions, and you say, okay, that's a bit mental, but I can do that later in a better format. So yeah.
Well, I think I saw a recent video of yours about adding hippos into.
Yeah, you did.
All right.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure that I got that right, so just verifying. Okay.
I'm gonna show you the hippos really soon. I'm so proud of those hippos.
Yeah.
It's SVGs, because
Sounds like it should
SVGs. Yeah, exactly. You can use them. You can use them everywhere, and you can. Sometimes a hippo might be relevant to your data set, not very often, probably. But it's about play. For example, before I didn't save it, unfortunately, but there's I got it like I drew a smiley face, and I took the SVG of my smiley face, and I made that was something that I could put inside Deneb, because an SVG path, you have that, you can do anything. It's very cool. So
All right.
hopefully I can make one or two people think that's fun. I'll give that a try.
Well, I'm excited to take a look. But before we head over to our desktop and dig into this is a lunch and learn. So grab your beverage of choice, be it coffee, beer, tea, hard beverages, whatever you happen to have. Grab a bite to eat, and let's take that collective sip to get us up and running. All right.
Nice.
Screen grab. Oh.
Oh man, very good.
All right.
This photograph that I have on LinkedIn and is used on conferences stuff now. This is a screen grab from a Teams chat with one of my channel, and has made this ridiculous face. Someone took a screenshot and they sent it to me for a joke, and I was like, you know what? I love that. That's getting used everywhere now.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's give that a shot.
Oh man,
all right.
Fantastic.
Okay, so
yeah.
Heading over to your desktop, custom visuals. So basically, Deneb, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. We're talking about custom visuals. I am obviously very Deneb focused. I know we have choice, which is a fantastic thing, right? We have Chartic. I mean, there are many custom visuals, but normally these days when people talk about custom visuals, actually they refer to stuff like Charticulator or Plotly, I think is also one, and Deneb. I'm not sure about Plotly. That came up in discussion yesterday with Kerry Kolosko.
Okay.
But as you can, so I mean, for example, I think I've got this on the slide. I don't remember slides very well. Oh, this is me. Look, this is a bit of a self promotion. Power BI guy, Power BI guy. Look, not PowerBIGuy.com, by the way, because the extra M would have cost me like 3,000 euros, and I'm not down with that. So the .co was about 15 euros, and I was like, I can live with that. Get rid of that M. So
Who
yeah,
owns
well,
PowerBIGuy.com and is squatting on that?
I have no, I think I don't know. I think it's like this make me an offer. I don't know what it was, but I was like, I'm not making you an offer. You can keep it, mate. That's fine by me.
Yeah, that's a garbage link. Future home
Yeah,
of Dotster hosted website. Okay.
it's not cool, right? They
Right,
should
that's
just
not
donate it
cool.
to me.
Yeah. Jerks.
But yeah, so custom visuals is something that, I mean, for me, and in general, a custom visual is anything that isn't a standard Power BI visual, right? Anything that you don't get with Power BI is a custom visual. So the custom visual that I've been using the longest and has saved me on so many occasions is actually the chiclet visual that I've been using the longest and has saved me on so many occasions is actually the chiclet slicer, right? I mean, the chiclet slicer I think is probably used by pretty much everyone because of things that it can do that a normal slicer can't do. You know, you can change the color state when you click on the items and stuff. So I think that a chiclet slicer needs a bit of attention, needs a little bit of love because of what the only thing it can't do is hierarchies. I wish a chiclet slicer could do hierarchies, then it would be the best thing
Oh,
in the world.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Chiclet slicer is the best way to put images inside of Power BI as well. That's also my opinion. People might disagree with that, but it's an amazing thing. But basically, we use them right to fulfill any requirement that a standard visual can't fulfill. And for me, to have something like Deneb inside Power BI really allows us to explore and have no restrictions anymore. The restriction, of course, being your own time and your own learning. And so I think at the very least, people need to know that it's there. Yeah.
Yep.
People, I mean, in my organization, so the company I'm working for, I made it an organizational visualization so that it's there for everyone, you know?
I was just going to point that out as that's a piece of functionality I think everyone should, connect with your admin. And
Mm.
I'm going to quick show that for you so you don't have to change anything. It's just going to swap over to my screen here.
Do it, man. Yeah.
But if you go under organizational visuals, you can add in whatever organizational visuals you want from the store. If you pull them from the store, it'll update as it comes out, so you don't have to worry about managing that stuff. But there are a handful of visuals that definitively should be enabled and visible inside of Power BI desktop. And I think the chiclet slicer is one, and Deneb is another one that should be in every single one of them. This is a default thing that you should go out and set up. So if you're an admin, go in and get the setup so it's in everyone's Power BI files. And if you're not an admin, take a screen cap of this. Tell them Chris, or send this over to your admins. Tell them Chris Wagner and Ben Ferry said that they have to turn this on inside of their service. Yep, that this is coming from both of us, right? That this has to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And evolve your analytics. All right, back to your screen. Yep.
Completely agree. Completely agree. It's also, one of the questions that we talk about with Deneb is how can you use it in an organization? I'm going to go a bit off track here for a second because I think this is quite an important thing. People often say, yeah, but with Deneb, the problem is, if you use that in an organization, how can you expect other people to know how to do that? The learning for people within your team, within your company, they have to learn this sort of thing. And I'll show this in a second. Really important part of working with Deneb is you're not using, Deneb is the tool that allows you to use Vega and Vega Lite. And those two things are extraordinarily well documented.
Yep.
No one likes documentation until you start using Vega Vega Lite, because the Deneb, the documentation is fantastic, and you will your ability to learn, in my opinion, and document is so much easier than if you do like these visual hacks like MacGyvering. It's really difficult, I think, to document a visual hack, to do some MacGyvering. But if you're using actual coding language, it's so easy to direct people to how they can learn or what you did, or to explain what each element is. So I think that for me is why and how you can quite easily get away with using Deneb within an organization. I'm not saying it's as easy as using a custom visualization. There's always going to be something that you have to learn, but I really don't think it should be the barrier that people suggest that it is quite often, you know?
100%. And it's code that you can check into Git, right? You could check that into any of your favorite repositories, and it can live and be managed there. It's all open source. So, I mean, your Java and your open source people are good with it. I mean, honestly, like I said, I've done a little bit with it. It was almost too easy, the things I did. So I kind of like backed away, like, hang on, I might got to hold off here. So I want to see what you have to show us today. Cause
Yeah. I'm getting there, I promise. So I'm taking my time, I know.
Yeah, no, you're good.
So what is Deneb? We've covered that already. And let's go, if it's okay, I'll just show you some examples that I've created already. Yeah, yes. Is that cool?
Yep.
So I have this, I hope you can see my screen okay, yeah?
Oh, yeah, this looks great.
So I created this. This is basically on my website, and I recently updated a lot of it. And I made it a lot tidier because one of a friend of mine, he was looking at it. He said, "Yeah, you need to tidy that up, because if you're using this, this is what Deneb can do. You need to make it look nicer." So I've put some effort into making it look nicer. But basically, what I wanted to do was give examples of ridiculous things you can do. We'll get to the hippos, and some things that really can quite easily like add context and just make things like a nicer visualization. So anyway, I'll just quickly go through it. So this, for example, is like a standard, of course, like area chart, right? And it's got a bit of gradient, so it looks quite nice. But the key thing here for me with these things, which highlights and really quickly explains, I think, or explains better than a standard visual, where the highest value and the lowest values are. And it's saying like 876 points scored by all teams, made round 9 the most high scoring round, and then for the lowest, the similar thing, you know. And here is my chiclet slicer. I think someone said before in the chat that don't use a chiclet slicer. It's very upsetting to me. So now, of course, if I filter, now I've got the actual values, points scored by Southampton, or SOU is the short form, made round 12 the most high scoring round, the same thing. And if I had to pull this to one side as well, it's very interactive, so it changes with all the slices that you have there. And I was just testing myself to see if I could create something that I think it's because I was reading the big book of dashboards or something, and talking about to really annotate your points to make the report user understand something as fast as you could.
Well, I'm going to say that these 2 points here, that, and you look at data visualization books all over the place. They say the 2 things you really need to be able to do is call out your highlights and your lowlights. And that's something that Power BI does not do natively out of the box. I mean, I've seen a couple hacks and tricks, but I don't like any of those. This looks solid. This looks great.
Yeah, I admit this is one of my favorite ones, because it's such a simple thing, right? If you think about it, it's such from a visualization perspective, it's a bit ridiculous sometimes that we look at it and think, oh my God, that's so good, because it should just be native. Right. And of course, someone asked me on my YouTube channel, I haven't answered yet, the other day, if you could do the same thing with, like, have a standard bar chart and have the highest and the lowest have those different colors. Yeah, you can. I mean, you use exactly the same concept that I've used here, but instead of using text, you just use color, right? So it's, you're using max and min. That's all it is, really.
Right.
And because, of course, we have this, I would say that people who use Power BI and Vega Lite rather than people who don't use Power BI and Vega Lite. We have an advantage because we have DAX, so we can put our DAX calculations and our DAX filters inside Deneb, which makes it necessary to write actually less Vega Lite. It's a wonderful combination of stuff that you can do.
Oh,
So yeah,
sure.
it's beautiful, especially people like me who aren't very good at DAX. Yeah, actually that's true, because I can use a bit of DAX, I can use a little bit of Vega Lite, I put them together, and I can do with the Vega Lite what I couldn't do with DAX, and I can do with the DAX what I couldn't do with the Vega Lite. There you go.
Oh, this is fantastic. Well. And
yeah, I love it.
Belinda, who really is pro filter, anti chiclet, which I kind of I will say I mostly agree with Belinda on this. I don't like to have things on my screen unless I have to. But I think Belinda and I both agree. These look amazing. I love the call out. That's not just the call out, but there's some description around it too, right?
Yeah, this is the thing. So it's not just it's the fact that it gives context to what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And you always need context, right?
Right.
Because you could put something in the title. The title describes something, but if you can do it in a faster, clearer way, I mean, we all speak about quite often this thing, 5 seconds or 10 seconds to understand what we're looking at. This really helps with that. So, I mean, the other things that I've got are a bit more. They go from a bit more ridiculous to something that's a bit more normal. But this, for example, I know borders on the ludicrous. I was really just testing my ability to create strange things. And what I love about this one, I mean, this is just a thermometer chart. So as your values grow, so does the value of your thermometer, right? This is nothing but like 5 or 6 different elements all kind of put together, stacked to create what eventually looks like a thermometer. This is one of these things that I just enjoyed building because I asked myself, I wonder if you can. And I started and I could, and I was like, how cool is that? That you can just
I have to tell you, while you think this is crazy, this is the type of thing I've seen requirements on to be able to like do this type of thing, and the answer in the past had been there were a couple custom visuals, but none of them worked, and we ended up getting someone to actually write our own custom visual to do this, but that was a lot of effort, like multiple months to get that into production. I'm gonna guess this didn't take you multiple months to deliver this.
It did not. I mean, to be honest, because I was learning new concepts, it took me obviously longer than it would take now. But it probably took me like a couple of days of non-intense, maybe like a week of non-intense working. But because I was learning as I was going, it took me a lot of could I try this? Could I try that? So really, not that complex actually. Again, it's easy for me to say not that complex. I get that, because if someone else looked at the code, they might think, it's a bit much. But it's not, because you break it down into its individual elements. You understand that a lot faster. But actually, it's funny you mention that, because I've been in a similar situation a few years ago when a former colleague, he said, let's just build our own visualization. And I literally laughed, because I was like, yeah, okay, let's just like build our own visualization. It's like no problem now. But with this, you can. I mean,
yeah,
it's strange to have a visual that allows you to create visuals, right?
Right.
So this is what this page was. It was just like showing, I mean, here against targets. So this one is a bit different in the fact that I didn't want it to be so crazy like this with the explosion that you get when you surpass your target. So this has like a text: we have surpassed our target at 22,000. Like, and as you can see that the text size changes when you get to a certain point, which I think is a nice touch to have as well, because it really just draws attention to whatever's happening,
Sure.
And this is a much more, I don't like this one so much, because every time I look at it, I think it should be like a slider. Like, I'm trying to click and drag it. I'm like, no, it doesn't work. But it was
the other one does.
Like, yeah, this one is nice.
Yeah.
With the slicer. But yeah, it's just to kind of look at how you can use percentages and targets. Somehow I've just noticed in this moment that this and this isn't aligned, and that really upsets me. I'm gonna have to change that. Just this second, I looked at it, I was like, how did I do that?
I would have got in big trouble if I caught this.
I
Otherwise,
know, right? So SVG point, this is a nothing huge, to be honest. See, you got your hippos here, right?
Hey.
This was just me looking at how you can use SVG points to create different shapes and stuff. So if you have here, you've got, information about dogs. So I've put like dogs, and the dog is an SVG path. This is actually a different type of mark, and the intention was to make the dogs look like they were on a lead, So silliness, just really silliness. But it's nice that you can do it, and it's good fun if you want to create something that was a bit more visually interesting, that could bring a smile to someone's face. Oops, something just fell over there. My power queer everything sign just fell over.
Nice. Power query everything.
Exactly, definitely. And yeah, SVG, you can control them also, with your conditional formatting. So the more points you have, the deeper the color, all this sort of stuff. And your hippos, an SVG point in the SVG path, inside the legend is quite a cool thing. I like it. You can change the legend shape to whatever you want it to be, essentially. Because as I say, if you use an SVG, it can be whatever you want. It's quite cool. Anyway, I'm trying to skip through so I don't waste so much time here.
But hang on.
The
value that you get with SVG, though, is that familiarity, that ability for people to connect, not just the colors, but to the objects themselves, especially if you're looking at many things on one page, right? Clearly, dogs, soccer, hippos, it becomes much easier to know that. And as a business user who might be sitting down to hundreds of reports a day going through them, this can really help ground them. So this is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect that the data in this visual has something to do with hippos. To be honest, it's not. But that's the point I'm trying to make. It's the fact that, and as you said yourself, you would expect the data to be about. So this one is football data. This one is dog data. I didn't have any hippo data. But yeah, you're exactly right. It just helps you quickly understand an element that you're looking at, and that's always what we're trying to achieve in some way or another. And it's just good fun. This is probably the most visually mundane page, but I do like it a lot because it's a sort of thing that you can use more often, right? And this is one of the reasons I wanted to use Deneb. This concept that we have here, this is actually the reason I started to put effort into learning Deneb, right? Is because if I have my sales and I have my planned sales and I want to show on a daily aggregation or whatever aggregation really, a comparison between the two, just to have like one bar slightly offset on the axes with a different width to that bar, it's actually not. Can you even do that in PowerBI? I'm not sure. But with Deneb, it's really easy to do. It's just two marks put together. You can specify the width. And what I really like is the point where it's not colorful. So this is fine. But if I were to choose to click on one, now it is colorful, right? Because I can define what color each thing is when I click on it, and I can define the opacity. So you'll see when I click on this one, all these go a bit more transparent, but the text actually doesn't, because I chose that. I could have made it that if I wanted to, but it's that level of like such control,
Right.
I really, that's one of the first things I created because I needed it.
This is fantastic. And I suppose you could also highlight your high and your low in here so that you could call out the days that are great and the days that are a problem. But then when you click on it, you're clicking on something, you're focusing on something else. Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly that. And this is the classic. I mean, one of my first videos about one of my best rated videos for quite some time was this hack to control the column width in a matrix, with the rep, and then you do a rep and then a 0 or whatever, and then you say you want to do it like 5 times or 6 times, and that controls the width of the standard matrix. But you can create a matrix using Deneb, and this is what you have. So it's not a complex thing. I mean, what I tried to achieve was just a standard column width. And now I have that, and then I can have the standard. I click on it, it goes purple. It does my cross highlighting just as I needed to.
Wow.
I think it looks really clean, right? That's what I love about it.
Yeah, it looks very clean.
I'll be honest. I do suspect at some point in the future, and I'm not sure how distant, that this issue with column width in the matrices will be resolved. when that time comes, I probably won't create these anymore, because you do lose some of the functionality, and they are quite like, for this total min. So here we have the total and we have the min. I could also have the max if I wanted to as well. Um, it works and it looks good, but actually, if you were to look behind this, it says total, 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 min, 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 which I kind of hate. No
Oh,
one sees it, but I know that it's there. So, but it still works. It's still like I mean, look, it interacts wonderfully, and I think it looks good. So unless I find any major advantages to using this, once they implement that in Power BI, I'll probably go back to use this as a standard Power BI matrix. But for the time being, I like this. It looks cool, and I love the fact that you can change color with it, and I love this purple. So
this is amazing.
yeah, cheers, mate. I enjoyed this page, I gotta say. So the next page is wildly different to this page. This page is all, it's all about color. There's not much to this, to be honest. I'd been using gradient, as you can see in the first page, and I realized that also I could use the gradient color within the text mark as well. And then I thought, oh, what other stupid things can I do with text marks? So I was basically on this visualization, the size and the rotation is controlled by the value itself. Yeah. So it's silly. You'd probably never use that, to be honest, but the fact is you can, and I think it's important to learn that you can do things, right? Because it helps you, gives you ideas for other projects and other things, other requirements,
Right,
So
100%.
that we can move swiftly on from this craziness. This is something, Taze, he has his own Git repository and whatever, which I've linked here. I can drop a link to this, by the way, if you want, in the chat at some
please
point.
Yes, this looks.
And actually, it's just, I'll do it in a second. This was created by Taze, and I just adapted it slightly. But standard spark lines, again, looks clean, really nice. And I just added this top. The max value is represented by a point in the value itself, just to give more context to it,
Just love that.
Yeah.
Although that 12 looks off.
The what, sorry?
D-Kipper?
Stimmt, it does. You know why that is? It's because I've done, I forget the name of it. You can, when you do a line shot, you can choose, I'll try and get in the documentation later. You can choose like how that line looks like, instead of like, you can do like step, or you can
it's because you're bending it.
Yeah. So this actually
Is the high
bend
point,
is in the wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Yep, I gotcha.
Yeah. That's a good point. Thanks for pointing that out. I'll fix that later. I
Jerk.
never noticed that. Yeah, exactly. All right, that's it. I'm leaving now.
Block.
Pattern fill. This I like a lot, because this I think is really helpful. Again, these are all showing our sales values. They're all made up things. Don't worry. There's no private data here.
Yeah.
And what I've done is, every single day where my sales data is above my plan data, I've just done this. So I've given it this pattern fill. I think it's an effective way of showing data. I think it's also good for people. I mean, it gets you away from the standard, red is bad, green is good. I'm not so great at seeing reds and greens, which a lot of people aren't, to be honest. So I always try to kind of find a way to do a better version of that. And I thought this worked quite well. You can use pattern fills in any way you want, but to use it this way and to put it in the legend, so it's quite clear actually what's happening on those specific situations.
Oh, that's interesting. I saw some study that was done. I forget who did it, but they did a study about how people who grew up in America or Europe or anywhere where teachers graded with a red pen for errors, how we respond to negative red items. And it was like you respond 16 times more negative than what's appropriate for that, whatever the change is, if it's in red versus another color. Or I mean, they didn't go into like a fill, but a pattern. But so I too have been trying to find a way away from reds for negatives because of that. Because should you know something's bad? Yes. Should you blow it out of proportion? probably
Mm.
not.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably bad, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm probably more upset about Reds because it reminds me of my bank balance when I was in my 20s. That was always my issue there. Um, and my favorite sports team plays in red, and we're pretty bad. So there are my associations. Excuse me.
Oh, good
Yeah,
deal.
I'm nearly finished. Yeah, I promise. Legends is something that I've been doing recently, and it's just legends are pretty functional, and you can do a lot with them. You can do this little background thing on them as well, and because Deneb works the way it works, you can change. So if I click on this, you can see now I see just the outline of the other ones. I think on this one, I've done something different where they completely disappear. Obviously, each one has a different icon for stuff. So just
Oh,
wanted to just explore the different ways in which you can actually filter using the
hmm.
legend itself, and also the different ways you can make it look, because you can do with each element really in Deneb, you can do so much with it. And yeah, that's why the final one is really just something completely out there. I did not do this. This was created by
Whoa.
Andre, and Andre uses Vega, not like Vega Lite. It's what?
None of that Vega light stuff. All
Yeah,
right.
exactly. This is the hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that everything represents something, right? So each line represents a year. Each color has something. It's really. I mean, you could argue that, for example, this doesn't work on the really tiny ones. So it's by no means perfect, but I think what it represents, it does very, very well, and it's a wonderful. I mean, I always say for Vega Lite is good for creating data visualizations, but Vega is good for creating infographics, and this is
Mm.
Vega, and this for me is a really very effective infographic, and it's something that I could spend, I don't know, 100 years trying to create and fail for all those 100 years. So
But
that
so
these are
are
the,
you
are
telling
the
me I can do both Vega and Vega Lite
Mhm.
within the Deneb visual, and I don't have to learn any? Well, as long as I learn either of those languages, or I can copy and paste, I can do stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't speak to Vega, to be honest, because according to Daniel Marshpatrick, of course,
Okay.
according to Daniel, Vega itself is kind of not easier, but the concepts are easier to follow. But I'm not sure why exactly. Daniel says it, so I'll say, okay, he's right. I'll just disagree with my brain because I can't get my head around that. But yeah, you can use Vega, you can use Vega Lite. I just think that for 90, I mean, really, I haven't yet reached a limitation with Vega Lite, So my need to use Vega really isn't there yet.
Okay.
At some point, I might get into it, but for the time being, I'm sticking with Vega Lite. I just post in the link in the chat there, if that's okay.
Oh yeah.
And I think close, yeah. And so that's the examples I wanted to go through. That's what you can do. And it was also, I thought it might be kind of, I'm not great at typing or live coding, but maybe just to kind of show you some of the concepts that I keep banging on about, because
Sure.
I always say stuff like, oh, it's great, you can just like copy and paste, and you can do this, you can do that, and it works really well. So maybe also what I can do is I'll start with the documentation, if that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is the Vega Lite documentation. I hope you can still see my screen okay. I'm pretty sure you can.
Yep.
So I've just dropped that link in the chat. That's to the Vega documentation. And for me, the joy of this is that you can, first of all, click on the examples. And the examples just take you through so much of what you can create, right? You got really your standard bar charts, and for me, just start with a bar chart. This is all you have to do. If you want to create something and understand how stuff works, start with a bar chart, because why would you start with something complex, right? So you have your little dot plots and stuff. I could get a hippo in there for sure. I could definitely get a hippo in there. And then what I love about it, though, if I click on it, if I go simple bar chart, right? No, simple bar chart, it gives me, some of this mark, and it shows me the code. But you can also just click the online editor, and I can start to edit this. Yeah, actually inside, I can start to edit this now inside the website. Hopefully I can zoom in a little bit. There you go. So
Wow.
this is like an online editor. And this is, I mean, when I talk about good documentation, so if I say, look, this is a bar chart, and this is how, for me, it says mark bar. Well, if I know this is a bar chart and it says mark bar, all I would need to know is what are the other marks called, right?
Right.
So if I duplicate this tab and I just quickly go back to the documentation, it says here literally mark, bar, circle, line, point. So let's just literally just type the word line instead of bar, right? And when I type that, now it's a line chart, right? So isn't that cool? I think that's cool.
All you did was type in bar?
Yeah, I typed it. Look, yeah. So I typed. It was a bar chart.
See,
It
and
said
this is
bar.
where like they say, "Oh, it takes so long to build out features in Power BI." I'm like, I bet it's like this too, and they're just like
Yeah,
stringing it
they
so
have
long. You know, Miguel
they have
Myers
an
says it's
extended
all
copy breaks,
working
mate.
already, and he's like,
it's
joking,
crazy.
Miguel.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure it's hard.
It's all good.
This is
It's all
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic thing. So now I typed the word rule. Now it looks like that. So it really, and of course it says encoding X, Y. So we all know what an X-axis is. We all know what a Y-axis is, right? So you can kind of start to understand that if maybe you can just change these elements around as well to see what happens. So if I say, maybe that's a Y actually, and maybe this here, this is an X. It's just about changing stuff to understand what's going on, see the change, and when you see that change, kind of build upon that, right?
Right.
I love it. So that's
This is
exactly.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I really. This is why I'm so enthusiastic about it all the time. I never shut up about it, and why should I? It's fantastic.
So you could 100% control like label angle here.
Oh yeah.
So right now that's just on the y-axis because that was the default that came with the visual that you're. Can you just copy and paste that into the x-axis too? That little like, I imagine it's colon bracket.
This one here.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. So if I were to go here, for example, label angle 45, you'd see this, right? Now it goes 45.
Right.
So you can do everything. So exactly what you're saying, right? So if I just copy this, yeah, and I put it there.
Wow.
Done. Copy paste.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's so intuitive. It's just like it literally tells you what it is. It's all you have to know is understand what label angle means, but it was there for us. And label, okay, angle, but
right.
It means you can do that with your data labels as well, right? So I can do that with when I actually show my data label. It's there for me as well. Do you know how to get the axes doubled on both sides? Yeah, I'm not going to cover that though. I'll do it in a video. So that's how it looks in the online editor. And if you want to create your own Deneb visual, where have I gone? So it's really as simple as, I click on my Deneb visual and it tells you what to do, right? So obviously in PowerBI, I click on my Deneb visual and it says, I've got to enter my fields. So I'm going to probably try and do something I'm quite familiar with. So I'm just choosing 2 fields, round, and I think I've got something called total points by game week. This is sports there. Doesn't matter at all. Total points by game week. So I've got the 2 fields that I need. And then I just go to my edit mode. So what's cool about this is actually you can choose between Vega and Vega Lite straight away, okay? So I'm going to stick with, so if I want to create a Vega visualization, I'd go here. If I want to create a Vega Lite, I'm going to go here. So I'm sticking with Vega Lite. Also, you can import from a template, which means if someone else has created a visual, you can use their template that they've exported, load it in, and you get all of their beautiful code.
Wow.
So it makes it really, I'll try to get that in a second. But look, bar chart, group bar charts. So if I say now, for example, I want to create a simple bar chart, Yeah. I'm going to select my category, which is my round. I'm going to select my measure, which is my total points by game week. Okay, I can create. So that's there for you already. Yeah. So the one thing I have to say about this is pros and cons, that it didn't used to, I'm pretty sure, I could be right, it didn't used to contain so much information. So what it contains now is, and it's something that you have to bear in mind, that if you, this functionality that you have for cross filtering, as in you click on a value and it filters like that. See this? That's something that you have to code in yourself. Yeah, that doesn't happen automatically. And what Daniel has done is he's done that here. That controls this. So if I just I don't want to get too much into it too soon, but if I were to delete that, now I click on them, you'll see that nothing's happening. So it's good that it's there. I just think it might also be a little bit overwhelming when you first get started, but it doesn't matter. It's good to have it there. It's good so you see what's happening. But it's just like we had before, right? We've got line, sorry, we've got mark, we've got type, we've got bar, right? So if I were to choose and change it from bar to something else like line, have a line. Now, you could also ask yourself, why do you also have a bar behind it? It's because of this. And that brings us to like this really interesting point straight away, that what you're doing is you're stacking visuals on top of visuals. You're stacking marks, I should say. In this one container, you're stacking marks on top of marks. So it matters what order that they come in. So anything that is written first is behind what comes second, right? So I'm just going to get rid of this. And that exists for a different reason completely, and I don't want to get into that. But this is what we have. We have a line that's on the vertical rather than on the horizontal, which is, different. It's new.
Right.
And you can and then so now I can start playing around and do whatever I want, right? So
what if I want to do lollipops? How easy is that?
Okay, so what I can do is I can say rule.
Yeah.
So my mark is rule, okay? So if I want to do lollipop, what I could do is give me a test straight away. I love it, man. So let's say
for those watching, we did not plan this out ahead of time, and 100%. I apologize to Ben if I asked him to do something. Oh, all right, and he just did it. So that was much.
Right, but isn't it? But this is the copy paste. What did I do? What did I do to create that? Really, I took all of this, copied it, put a comma, pasted it, changed my type rule to type point, and then it arrived. And what I can also do is I can change the size. I'll be honest, I've forgotten how to change the size on a point, but I think it should be just something like size and then say, I don't know, 150. I could be wrong. Yeah, that's what it is. So I can just change whatever size I want. If I want to be huge, now I've got big points. Right?
Wow, and then you could put the title of the amount in that, so you could, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if I want to say also, now there's going to be some redundant code here, right? But I've copied and pasted that again, right? So now if I were to say mark type, I've got mark type rule, which is the line. I've got mark type point, which is the circle, this point. Now I've got mark type point again. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change that to mark type text. Yeah. And now in my encoding, so this first part here, the mark is setting everything that is included in the mark. All the stuff that you can kind of see that exists in this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this size 500. I'll change it to 15 because it's text now. And in the encoding, which kind of gives it context, I'm going to say text. And I want to say the field that the text should be based on, I'm bad at typing, so I'll make loads of mistakes probably, is going to be total points by game week. And hopefully, yeah, cool. So you can't see that right now, but that's fine, because now you see, when I zoom in, you see you have the value. And the reason you have that is because it it goes exactly where it's specified on the x-axis. The x-axis is total points by game week. Highlight. That's not. So it goes right there. So, but if I want to say, well, I don't want it to be there because it looks stupid, I can't see, and I want to read it better, I can just say, use the x offset, and I want to make that, say, 20, and make it a bit more, let's say 30. Now I'm controlling exactly where I want that to be.
Wow.
And honestly,
Wow.
to create this, how much typing have I actually done? Like hardly anything.
Copy paste a field name and a
Yeah.
handful of like
Yeah.
sizes. Wow.
This is the big secret that people think, oh, Ben can do this. He's really good. I'm actually very, very stupid. I just spend my entire day copying and pasting. There you go.
But look at that. That is incredible.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And also, it's fully, you click on it, and all the others go away and stuff. It's rad. I love it.
Wow.
So, and also, by the way, if I click on stuff now, they all disappear. You can also control this by your opacity here. So basically, everything that when I click on things, I can control completely how transparent they are when they are clicked on. See?
Wow.
It's cool. It's such good fun. And this for me is the absolute joy of using a tool like Deneb, because so you can do too much copying and pasting, and the code gets redundant. Like probably there's some stuff in here that you wouldn't want. What I do like, however, by the way, is that also you'll see on each one it says tooltip true. So when I hover over here, so here it says tooltip true, right? And what that means is when I hover over, you can see the tooltip. But it also means I can do it on the same as the text. So when I hover over my text, it also shows me the tooltip. Yeah. So it doesn't matter where you are. Yeah. And actually, I don't have it anymore. I don't know why. Maybe it's on a different file. I created a visualization. It was a matrix thing. And what it was that you would only see the tooltip where you went over a certain point. Because sometimes the tooltip's annoying. It comes there, you don't want to see it, right?
Right. Right.
So sometimes, like if I have my I don't want to see the tooltip right now, but that's cool. Well, I'm gonna go in my text, and I'm just gonna say tooltip true. I'm gonna take that away, and now when I hover over, if I've done it correctly, there is no tooltip anymore. So you can control so many elements, and again, all this stuff can be controlled by, for example, the size of my point could be controlled by the field, by the actual value itself.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's really also, I mean, here's the config, and the config is predefined. This is set up, I think, I suppose. I never asked him actually. I said, it's Daniel must choose that first. So I could just delete that if I wanted to, and see how does it look without that. That's how it looks. The config is controlling all that. So if I put that back in now, you can see. So basically, look, it's saying my point. If filled is true, right? So by definition, and by standard, I should say, the point filled is true. But if I just remove that, it wouldn't be filled, And of course, I can fill it with whatever color I want. Also, what you can do, if I go back to the documentation, whatever that was, here, the config also exists in the website of Vega Lite. So it has different options of how things can look, which is really cool. So if I chose this one, if I just copy and pasted that one, and I go back to my own Deneb visualization, and I paste that in, now it looks that way. So I'm taking the config from the website, and it's giving me so many ideas of how things can look. It changed like the background color and what have you. It's changed the text, the font. It's cool.
So if you're in an organization, you are doing lots of Deneb visuals, you could create a custom config for all of your developers so that they have a constant basic these are our standards for how these visuals need to look and feel. You can go into, they can tweak it inside specifications, but if they just want their standard thing out there, Oh, I love that so much.
Actually,
That's great.
I'm going to make that video because I like that idea. Custom config to suit your organization. I'm stealing that idea.
Steal away, please. I don't know enough of this
Yeah.
to do it myself, so I want to watch your video.
One thing that I've spoke about SVG points and stuff. One thing, do I have time? Do I have another few minutes?
Yeah, we have a little time. Yeah, keep going.
So one thing that I was playing around with the other day was using SVG paths, and there are websites where you can just draw on your own and you get the SVG path from that. It's called Excalidraw, and I thank Kurt Buehler from Data Goblins, who always reminds me of this website because I've got a terrible memory. So it's worth checking out. And what I did with that is, because I was getting really, really specific about what I wanted to see. Excalidraw, I think it's called. Excalidraw, yeah. And 1 second, see if I can find it. It should be open somewhere. No, I can't find it. I'll post the link later.
I presume it does not have to do with chicken products and chicken recipes, because that's the one.
Shockingly, it doesn't. I mean, it's surprising, I know, but it does not. What I did is I created an SVG path that I wanted to use as the background to my data label. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was quite a fun thing to do, because obviously what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just add that to, hopefully it'll work properly. So I've just copied and pasted quite a lot of information there. But the point was that this here is an SVG path, yeah, this whole whatever. So here I've got mark type point, yeah?
Okay.
And the mark type point is this thing here, is the point. But with a mark type point, you can also specify the shape. So if I wanted here, if I want mark type point, and I go shape, and I just go square, I always spell square incorrectly. You'll see that, I'm just going to delete this for a second. Now my point is a square, which means I can specify the shape that I want in my point, which allows me to use an SVG path. And when I do that, it gives me, you can't see it very well because I've got a weird color on there. I'll just do, what's black?
Yeah.
This thing here. And that allows me to create my own background to whatever it is I want. So for example, I want to have the background of my data labels. So I'll just copy and paste this. This is not a particularly best practice that I'm doing right now. Excuse me, it's going to take me 1 second. I don't have an x-axis in, actually. Filter this and it should be fixed. There you go. So this here with an incorrect offset is giving me like something that I can use as a background to my data labels. So if I just get the offset correct, like here, for example, I have the offset set as like 30. What it'll do, it'll give me something that gives me like a background to my visualization. So obviously here it looks really ugly, but when I was playing around yesterday, I created something which I thought looked pretty cool. And it was this one here. So this thing that I've got here, it's given me this really nice, clear, I think it looks quite cool. You might hate it, but it's a styling option, right? It's a styling option that you can go with. So every time, and again, it's controlled, but so the text is controlled by what I click on and stuff. And it's a really big, thick data label, which I haven't done on this visualization. This one is obviously completely, what I've created now is ridiculous and pretty ugly. But this is what you do. You just build stuff and you bring your ideas and then you develop them. I mean, this here is a bar chart, right?
Right.
This one I was creating. It's just a bar chart, but all I did was I controlled the height of the bar. So if here you've got mark type bar, so everything here is just a bars. If you go height, band, I can just say I want it to be 55, and it changes the width of the bar to the percentage of the area that each bar should contain. So you can make it look pretty cool. And that's exactly what I did. If I go back to the examples that I had before, when I was showing you this offset bar, that's all this is. It's just a bar that I've decided okay, I want it to be whatever 45% of the width, and this one will be like 100 or whatever. So you take these things that you read in the documentation, you play around with them, you come up with different ideas, and then you apply them to real world situations where it actually doesn't look something, you know, like ugly and terrible like this anymore, but it looks something that people actually might get a good data insight from, like this one, or one of the examples I've given before.
Well, Ben, this has been a tour de force, if you will, when it comes to how all the types of things you can do with Deneb, and how easy it is to get that up and running and to make changes and to really do it on the fly. I mean,
Yeah.
that you just like copy and paste a few things, made a lollipop chart, added in values on the end. I mean, that is just incredible.
It's it's so, for me, I just find it so accessible that you can do that. And really, when you work with data, when you work with Power BI, you're going to know what an x-axis is and a y-axis is. And as soon as you see that mark bar or mark whatever controls what the mark is, as soon as you see that, then you know you understand what you're dealing with, and you just, like you say, you just build it. And but really, I can't understate how good the documentation is for this. Really, I can't. And everything I've shown today is really just scratching the surface. You can do so much more. It's really, if you're at all interested in doing something slightly different with data visualization, absolutely check it out.
Well, I'm gonna link your YouTube channel one more time inside the chat, mate, here, because like this is phenomenal. We really, everyone who's watching, there's 11 of you. Your task is to go out there and give this a shot. We saw how easy this was. Start the website, copy and paste what was out there, put it in. I mean, watch the replay of this video, get through it, and get it done. I know I'm going to. I'm super excited about this. Wow, Ben, I'm blown away.
Please enjoyed it.
Yeah. Hey, before everyone like heads out, before we cut out, want to just Kevin, I see in the chat. Kevin is next week. Kevin is not going to be in the chat. Kevin is going to be live. He's going to be in the hot seat where Ben is right now.
Excellent.
But he's going to show us some best practice around direct query and Power BI. I hear lots of people say, "Hey, we're going to do direct query." That is not an easy ask or a task. Kevin is going to show us that. I can't wait to get over to that. So that's going to be exciting. But Ben, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know it's very late in the night.
No, it's all good. It's all. My kids are downstairs watching a film. It's fine.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. And
thank you, man.
Hey,
thank you.
Everyone who's in the chat, thank you guys for hanging out with us, having your lunch break with us. I hope you found this like at least 10% as useful as I did, because I'm super excited about this, and thank you guys all for coming out. You guys have a great day. Yes, and Ben, you want to say any last words? Where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere, Power BI guy stuff. So Power BI on YouTube. Please, if you want, go there and have a look and subscribe to my channel. That would be great. And yeah, just play around with this. I hope you have fun at the very least with what I've shown. Thanks for joining, and yeah, it was been great being here. Thank you so much, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Why didn't it go? Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.